Hello everyone, it's Nick in the States again. Hey, and today we're going to do something I've wanted to do for a little while, which is put an Xtrem on this Agile AL2000. And what the Xtrem is it is Guitar Fetish, GFS's take on a Bigsby B7. So whereas a Bigsby B7 may look something approximately, not exactly, kind of, sort of, maybe, exactly like this. This is their take on it. The neat thing about an Xtrem versus a B7 is it actually has, I don't know if you can see because it's black, individual rollers for each of the strings, which is kind of sweet. But same basic theory, same basic method of attachment. 4 screws on the heel, 2 screws on the face of the guitar. 2 screws on the face of the guitar. That means I'm going to put some holes in this guy. For this guy right here is a $100 guitar. She's a great guitar, but she wasn't that expensive. I'll leave the holes from the stop tailpiece. You'll see when I take it off. But I'm not too worried about it. I've got another video coming up where I'll put this, which actually it's already got part of a Vibramate on it, and I'll put this on my other blue AL2000 with a Vibramate, and it'll leave no holes. So stay tuned for that one. But let's get started on this bad boy. Everybody should have a manly pink work surface. I think it's really a requirement. I tend to go with this kind of like a bull in a china shop. So first things first, say goodbye to old strings. We'll leave those up there for now. Save your little stop tail for future endeavors. Let's take a look at that bad boy. And we're doing a fitment check, so you'll see, I line it right up based on the previous one, how this will sit. Now we got to get these little buggers out, and that's not always easy. So when we're talking about pulling these guys out, there's a much better trick that I'm not prepared to do today because they're coming out easy. I can pull those out really easy. What you can also do though is if you go to your local hardware store and find a bolt that matches the same thread pattern as this, so go there, try a nut on this, try a nut on one of the ones there, but that it's longer, you can actually screw that bolt into here and keep screwing, and what will happen is it'll push, whereas this bottoms out, it'll keep going through, it'll push on the guitar and it'll actually lift this little bugger out. Because on many guitars, these are a pain in the ass to pull out. And the process of pulling them out, you run the risk of really scratching a guitar. Ta-da! Alright, so now we've got that bad boy off. She's all set. Now, be careful because this little bugger is going to want to jump off as you go through this next set of the process. Bing, bing, bing. Alright, there's your pin. Now, the next step. Important lesson for when you're using screws and drilling pilot holes for the screws is that your drill always needs to be just slightly smaller than the screw. If you make your drill too small, what's going to happen is that when the screw threads in, it could split things. And especially on a small screw, one of two things is happening. If it goes in with too much resistance, it may crack. Or very often what happens is as you twist, as this twisting tension, this is gripping too much here and this is twisting, the head of the screw twists right off and you get left with a shaft of the screw stuck in your damn guitar, which has happened to me on more than one occasion. So when I'm doing a pilot hole, first thing I do, we'll try and give an illustration here, is I'll take the bit, I'll put the screw behind the bit, and I'll see if I can see just the threads. And this one, this bit's actually just a slight bit too large. And this one is probably, go back, just about right. So we'll use this bit to do the holes for this screw. Now next, what I actually prefer to do at this step is to line everything up and put the end cap screw right back in. Because what's going to happen is, it's really going to kind of keep everything pinned in place. Nice and gentle. Now see what's happened there, and I don't know how I'm going to solve that problem, is that the actual jack, sorry, the strap pin, it's kind of sunk into the body there. I think though, for the moment I'm going to leave that, and I can probably touch that up or switch it with a washer and spread everything farther out. So if when you're gonna go out that's something that you're gonna have to be careful of. I don't know if you can see this right there, but you can see that this hole, luckily, just misses the big dowel hole, so we will still have enough wood to go into, and this hole is nice and clear. And you'll kind of see that you get a little bit of visible hole left over, but nothing too crazy, so that when, say, you're back there, no one's really going to notice from the cheap seats that you didn't plug those. Doweling and plugging holes is a pain in the ass, and I'm not a big fan of it. So, what I'm actually going to do next is first tap those end holes, like we had there, and get those things done. And like I say, this is how I end up doing this. I'm sure many different people have other ways of going about it, but this is the way that works for me. Another good thing to note too, in this situation, because we're going into a whole lot of body, there's not a lot to worry about. But where this could be like drilling in a headstock, I'll often sink the screw just to the sink the bit just to the depth of the screw if possible, so that I would try and sink it on all the way. Or I tape the bit, or there's even little like a bolt-on little disc that you can put there, so that you don't have the risk of going all the way through a headstock, which I have done that as well. So my loss is your gain on that one. A little screwdriver. Well, I screw this in. There's a guy on the Agile guitar forums, I think his name is Brat Matter. That's his handle. And he begged me, please, please, please not to put it on this guitar. So Brat, I'm sorry. I think he just liked the way it looked without anything, but for me, I really like the look of a Bigsby on a Les Paul. And this particular guitar is actually going to go and spend a lot of time at my office as kind of the office, you know, the village bicycle of sorts. For anyone that wants to come hide out in my my lab, they can come in, play guitar, enjoy it. So I want it to be the most capable that it can be. So there we go. We've screwed the end on there. We're going to fix that in a minute, or in time, I should say. The next thing we gotta do is find a drill that we can drill this guy out with. So, same situation, and I'd say that guy right there, back it up, Nick, is probably the one. So, put that bad boy in the drill. I can probably, at this point, move this to right here. The table I'm working on is actually it makes it. It's made by a company whose logo I can't see currently, but it's fantastic because it has a perfect spot to catch all the junk you pull off, and to work there. Work on it nice and easy. Now for this section, what's really important is you actually have some guides to line this up, and it's the edge of your, you know, as you adjust the saddles on the bridge, there's an edge there, 2 straight lines, and then these 2 straight lines here are pretty much equidistant. So all you have to do is keep some pressure on this, look down and make sure that they line up with the edge, you know, the same amount, just a little, and then that's going to be a problem. So what's happened right there is I actually, because of where that is, it went right into the cavity for that screw. So what I'm going to end up doing is trying to come across the other way. And be able to get a grip there. So even though it may not, see? And this is why we do this on an Agile and not on a Gibson. You can see that my first drill kind of fell in the hole. So what I've had to do is adjust back a little bit, and luckily the Bigsby's got enough play for the strings that that's still going to be okay. What's also happened is underneath here I had a little schmutz and it caused a scratch there. Once again, it's going to be underneath, no big deal. This is why we do this on less expensive guitars. Alright, so now I got this guy here. I'll use this trusty screwdriver. Screw it in just a couple. And because we had to split the gap there, I'll start my other screw at the same time. And we'll see how it goes. It's definitely not your perfect situation. But then again, this is next land of hack guitar shops. The best way of fixing that problem would be to find a dowel that's the proper length, cut it to fill that depth, glue it in, and sand it back, and then you'd have more purchase there to work with. So let's get this thing started. So now, tighten these things up a little bit by hand the last little bit. I leave my drill a little on the lower tension side, just so that it won't strip down too far with it. And now, if you look at it, ta-da! You've got an Xtrem on there. And she's pretty straight. We had to go a little slightly off center just because of that hole, the holes there. But all in all, I think we're pretty good. Alright, we're going to string her up. Prepare for the power of fast forward. So, there you go. There's your Xtrem mounted on there. So lessons learned in this, 2 things. Many guitars, if you're going to use the strap pin as your geography point for the center of the guitar, it's not actually the middle. So it may make sense to actually do a measure across and try and find the actual middle, eyeball it a few times to make sure, because this is, take a look here, slightly crooked just because we use that strap pin. That would be a problem though too if we were going to do a Vibramate and a Bigsby, because you're actually using the whole of the strap pin. So you kind of have to suck up the fact that it's going to be a little crooked. But in this case, not so bad. All that's left to do here is just tune the strings, stretch them in, and get a good little playwear out of it. So it's funny, it takes slightly longer to mount this than it does to restring it and tune it. And with a Vibramate, it's actually closer to the actual normal mount. So anyway, with that, that's putting an Xtrem on an Agile AL2000, or really any Les Paul style guitar, with a couple tips and tricks. I'll have a play demo for this up at some point in the very near future, but until then, as always, I'm Nick in the States, and yeah, I've got issues. Take care.